Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Kelsi Sheren Perspective. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing on our YouTube that is growing, on all of our other platforms. And thank you for jumping over on our Substack where we have been climbing like crazy. And I am so grateful for every single one of you. All of these things to support us is free. So please go check out all those platforms and our amazing sponsors behind us, Good Living and Ketone IQ. If you guys are looking for some great discounts and mainly looking to improve your health, you can check those out in the bio now. And before we get right into it, I obviously understand a lot of these conversations are uncomfortable, but they are the reality. So let's get right into one of my favorite subjects, the fall of the Canadian nation. It's kind of crazy, I hear you, but wild things are happening here, and you can thank Sean Fraser's new hate laws as a point of no return. Because our Canadian government is losing its damn mind and has unveiled yet another hate crime bill that they couldn't get past the last two times, so they're trying again. And this time it's being pushed by our justice minister, which sounds insane, by the way. So Sean Fraser, if you don't know who he is, go give that guy a hard Google. On paper, he claims that he's protecting Canadians by outlawing intimidation and obstruction around schools, daycares, seniors' residence, and places of worship. And in practice, he's just telling you that if you stand up against him, well, you're going to prison. See, this risks criminalizing peaceful dissent, muzzling protests, and cementing Canadians' steady slide into authoritarianism. If you guys have seen Canada in the past little while, including the trucker protests, you will know that our government has lost its damn mind. The Canadian Civil Liberties Association has already sounded the alarm, and you know if they've gotten involved, it's a problem. The warning is blunt and true that this bill that he has been talking about is so broad, it could and will most definitely criminalize lawful protests. Well, unless you're a pro-Palestinian protester, that's for sure. The bill is terrifying, at least for me. It could mean upwards of 10 years in prison for holding a sign, chanting in front of a school board, or simply being disruptive. Laws already exist against harassment threats and mischief. I know this for several reasons. Fraser's legislation doesn't close a gap. It creates a new tool for silencing opposition. This episode is brought to you by Ketone IQ, and if you guys have not seen me drinking it, it has been behind me, it has been everywhere. But ketones, I want to tell you a little bit more because you ask all the time, are a powerful macronutrient, and they cross the blood-brain barrier. They supercharge your brain, and not only do they do that, I have reported and seen my own sharper focus and stronger endurance in next-level performance. I use them before podcasts, before keynote speeches, and before I work daily with clients and when I get on my road bike. But this is not just that feeling good type ad. This is for real. This is backed by science. And in a placebo-controlled study, Ketone IQ users saw a 19% increase in sprint power, 13% in more peak power, and 10% less fatigue. And the ketone levels spiked 5 times in just 20 minutes. So when it comes to recovery, Ketone IQ improves blood flow, muscle oxygenation, and even boosts EPO, which is critical for your stamina and the bounce back factor. So if you guys are chasing that edge, physical or mental, Ketone IQ is the shortcut to getting into those zones. Do yourself a favor, go over to ketone.com and use the code Kelsi. You're going to save 30% off your next subscription. And I do promise you, ketone is no joke. Ketone fuels the flow. And I'm telling you, it is the best thing I have ever gotten into. See, history tells us exactly where this is going to lead. When dictators consolidate power, the sequence is always the exact same. Control of speech, well, look no further than Hitler's Germany outlawing the criticism of the state, branding it as a form of treason. Stalin criminalized anti-Soviet agitation, a phrase so vague it could literally mean anything from writing a poem to telling a joke. Mao's China made counter-revolutionary speech punishable by death. Insane. Every single regime that has framed censorship as a form of protection from descendants or reactionaries or hatred, it is nothing but dangerous rhetoric. criminalization of people during protests was a Mussolini move. See, he banned strikes. In East Germany, the Stasi's infiltrated even church prayer circles, branding them as subversive. Even in Franco's Spain, imprisoning peaceful students for disrupting any sort of order was a common thread. Peaceful opposition was rebranded as intimidation. Yet I don't see Canadians doing absolutely anything about those who of the Islamic faith are filling our streets and intimidating our Catholic and Christian institutions while praying outside of them and blaring their absolutely obnoxious prayer 5 times a day. The cops seem quite all right with that. But when we look at vague definitions, harsh penalties, and Stalin's enemy of the people, Mao's rightists were catch-alls, today's hate is a convenient Canadian version. With Sean Fraser's bill, who decides what counts as intimidation? The same state that benefits from fewer critics. That too. At a maximum penalty of 10 years, and you've got the same chilling effect that dictators from Berlin to Beijing relied upon. Canada's slow drift has been visible for years. I have been screaming about it for a long-ass time. Now, whether you're paying attention or not is not up to me. But the fact is, so many people out there are giving you the information. Whether you choose to believe it or not before it's too late, well, that's up to you. See, the human rights tribunals in Section 319 already restrict speech deemed hateful. Comedians and columnists have been dragged through the tribunals not for incitement of violence, but for offending the wrong audience. See, COVID set the precedent for Canada. Peaceful protests saw bank accounts frozen, and they continue to do it to this day. The Emergency Act was involved against truckers, people just like my parents. That normalized state overreach conditioned citizens to accept that dissident could be punished in the name of safety. Because apparently words are violence nowadays. When you weaponize ambiguity, Sean Fraser swears that peaceful protest is safe under his bill, as long as it's pro-Palestinian. So did every single authoritarian leader in history just get it wrong? Or is Sean Fraser just missing the point and thinking that we're all idiots? Because intimidation is undefined in this. So could a group of parents then, hypothetically, protesting gender policies like SOGI outside of a school then be branded as criminals for standing up for their children's rights to not be mass dripped into a mental illness? Could religious groups opposing government's ideology be silenced? The vagueness is the point. It ensures selective enforcement. Banning symbols, outlawing hate symbols as another red flag. I don't know if you've seen recently, but there was a gentleman that was just brought forward because he was wearing the Star of David, and he was wearing it too close to a pro-Palestinian. Same with some of the schools. They're requesting that you remove pork from the lunches. It's making Muslims uncomfortable. My response to them is please go back to the place where there you don't eat pork. You're in Canada. I think you've forgotten. See, I can understand banning symbols like, I don't know, the swastika. But there were government officials dressed in black masks with swastikas during the trucker protest trying to incite violence, and I don't see them in handcuffs. But political flags, memes, and slogans disliked by the ruling class? Once this precedent is set, the categories always expand. History has shown us it is without exception. Once freedom is gone, it absolutely never returns. And if it does, it takes a revolution that this country, well, these people were just not made for it here. Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by Good Livin'. I am so excited to tell you about something that's become such a meaningful part of my wellness routine, Good Livin'. Now, this isn't any brand. This is actually a brand I know all of the owners behind. And let me tell you, their integrity, their dedication, and their quality is the real deal. Their microdosing and functional blends are crafted with intention, and you can feel it. Everything is tested and made to support you in tapping into your own rhythm. We're talking about blends for anxiety, depression and stress, ADHD, brain health, inflammation, sleep, and energy. Seriously, they have thought of everything possible. I know firsthand how much love they pour into every single product. So if you're ready to check them out and explore more, go to itsgoodliving.com. And trust me, it's a journey worth taking. That's itsgoodliving.com, itsgoodliving.com. And make sure to use the code Kelsi and get 20% off your first order today. The scariest lesson from history is permanence. And that's what scares me. Once censorship and political imprisonment become law, regimes don't roll them back. The Soviet Union lasted 70 years. Cubans are still living under speech codes that criminalize dissent. And in East Germany, well, it waited 4 decades for the wall to fall. And for the people that are listening to this based on analytics, y'all don't have 70 more years. When government decides that protests are valid, freedom is not suspended. It's dead. The cost isn't just legal, it's cultural. Citizens learn self-censorship and families stop speaking openly. Artists dull their edges, journalists toe the line. We have seen that with the CBC. We have seen that with Global, with CTV. They only say what they are told and they do not step outside of it if they want to keep their jobs. The silence becomes generational. Fear is a taught thing, my friends, and this is how you break the next generation. See, Sean Fraser insists that this bill protects peaceful protest, but we know it doesn't. Look what happened in the peaceful protest during the trucker protest. Did they not enact the Wartime Act? Something they hadn't done since World War II on a bunch of what? Truck drivers, moms and dads and kids? See, Sean knows this, but he's clearly being controlled by someone based off the way he's moving. I often wonder how people like him sleep at night. And then I realize that the darkness, when you feed on the light, well, you don't really need to sleep. You just steal people's souls, because that seems to be his way of life. They tried to put this bill through multiple times now, and it didn't make it through. But this time, Canadians are exhausted. Canadians are tired, and Canadians are being fed so much fear, they can't look up any longer. See, the point is not protection. Canadians don't need protection from hate speech. Words are not violence. Being offended does not mean you have the right to send someone to prison. I'm offended by a lot of people regularly. I don't get to punch them in the face or send someone to jail. When you send me death threats and hate messages, we move along because words are not violence. And we are grown adults and know the difference. To be micromanaged and told otherwise just means to think that Canadians don't know the difference and that we're treated like children, like we have to be controlled. A democracy that criminalizes its critics is not a democracy at all. Let me say that again. Any democracy that criminalizes its critics is no democracy at all. Canada is literally falling by the second. And if we were to accept this law as it is or at all, we are going to normalize the authoritarian drift. And we have to reject it. We have to stand up to it. You have to remind these MPs that are voting that we are the reason they have a paycheck. They don't get to go unchecked, unnoticed, and act as if they can put in laws that put the everyday Canadian in prison. That's absolutely insane. Because whose taxpayer dollars do you think are going to cover those prison fees? Do you not think your taxes will go up with the amount of arrests, and prison time? What about the trial? How much money of your taxpayer dollars are going to go into trying someone over a meme, rather than looking at the gangs that are trafficking our girls across the nation? And the fentanyl that is flowing in from the Vancouver ports and the railways from China. Are we not worried about the real problems with the cartels in Canada? Why are we still paying attention to things like memes on the internet as threats? It's because this government, this liberal government that has been here since 2015, realizes it's losing. It's losing its grip on control. And once they have control, if you have not noticed, they will not let it go. See, history shows that the stakes are real. And once you trade liberty for state-approved safety, that's how you get state-approved killing, state-approved murder, state-approved paychecks. social credit scores, digital IDs. Are you not getting the point yet? We are on our way, and once we get there, we never get to come back. Sean Fraser's bill is not about hate at all. It never has been. The average Canadian knows the difference between an actual hateful slur and me not saying I want to have Sharia law in Canada. When places like the UK are arresting individuals for saying, I like bacon outside of a pro-Palestinian protest, you know that we have lost our damn minds. Here's the thing, if Canadians do not resist, silence is going to be the only sound left. And as a veteran, you know I am if you've listened to the show, a lot of my friends, including myself, whether we realize it or not, have risked our lives for the freedoms that Sean Fraser thinks he has the right to strip away. With his cocky-ass attitude, terrible suit, horrendous haircut, standing there like he can control everything. He's not Stalin, he's not Mao, he's not Hitler. He doesn't have the gall for it. He's just a guy from Canada who was bullied as a kid, who now has a little bit of power and thinks he can wield it over you. I'm not going to be silent, and I won't stop speaking about this. I've said this before, I'll say it again. The war didn't kill me. The suicidality didn't. The government's attempt at electroshock therapy and overprescription of drugs sure as hell didn't. And I'll be damned if some MP with little man syndrome thinks he can now. I really suggest you guys go take a look at this bill, take a look at the reality of this thing, really read this one. Because this won't just affect you. I don't care how old you are if you say I don't use the internet or I don't participate. But the reality is it will affect your kids, your grandkids, and those that come after you. Don't leave them a broken nation. Don't leave us hanging in the wind. Some of us are the only reason why Canada hasn't crumbled at all. I'm not talking about me personally. I'm talking about those that stood up to the government during the COVID tests, during the vaccines, during the protests. Enough is enough. When are you going to stop letting them take everything that you've ever worked for in the generation before you? There's no reason to be silent now. Tell them this bill cannot go through. They work for us. Let's start remembering that. And if you guys like this one, please give it a share. Go subscribe to our YouTube right now. It is finally growing. Help us get a new reach. And I will see you all next week.